So science was like my passion, and I loved talking about it. And I would talk about it really wherever anybody let me. And I really enjoyed what at the time was kind of called science outreach, which was going to festivals and just talking about science. So that was my passion, and I had a kind of interest in performing as well. And I really wanted to see how I could maximize my engagement. It was cool to go out to some field in a festival and to talk to people and show them cool science stuff, but I wanted to reach bigger and bigger audiences. And I always watched those science documentaries as a kid, and I was like, they have the coolest jobs ever. They get to talk about things that they really, really like, and it's amazing how they can use TV as a platform to reach massive audiences. So I began continually making videos, and the more I made, the better I got. And the longer I did it, I started meeting people that were doing similar types of things, and then I would learn from them. And I did it for so long that eventually people were like, "Oh, you make those videos?" And nothing was really kind of becoming of them. But slowly, the more I did, the more people I met, the more I kind of became known for presenting science videos. And I just kind of persevered until opportunities came up where people were looking for TV presenters, specifically for science kids television. And that's what I've been doing for about 7 years. Throughout the next kind of 50 minutes, I'll then share kind of certain tips and advice that I have learned over the period and that I think would be useful for you guys to use as well. And then towards the end of the session, I'll talk about some really practical tips that you can use to help find your voice and to help you get seen. So if you're doing some work, how do you tell people, and how do you get noticed, and how do you get into that industry? And then I'll give you some practical tips for when you're on set presenting, and some things you can prepare for, so when you get that chance, you're ready for it. I actually would have done a lot of performing as well. So kind of during my studies and stuff, I did a lot of acting as well. So I think that really, really helps, because you get a really great understanding of how the whole setup works, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, because even as an actor, it really helps to know what the director's talking about. What are they thinking? What does the sound person need? What does the lights person need? So an understanding of the behind the scenes really, really helps, especially when they're giving you direction and asking you to do certain things. And then you will also have in your head a kind of understanding of what they're looking for. So you'll know, you'll have an idea of where you should walk, where you should stand, kind of when you should be looking at something, and then when you should address the camera. So I find the kind of the acting and drama side of it gives you a great understanding of behind the scenes, which I think is super useful. Already, I think you have a fantastic mindset, which is kind of something I'm going to probably start talking about initially, is that whole mindset to create your own opportunities and not to wait for other people to hand them to you, especially with the amount of technology available to all of us, that you really have the chance to start now and to create your own opportunities. Writing your own script is a really, really useful exercise. It allows you to, one, to get your personality down on paper, and to get your words and your style, because it's so much easier to memorize or learn something that's come from you. It's your message. So that's something I'm going to be recommending that everyone does, is start learning to write your own scripts. As like, I remember there's many times live on set where somebody needs to rewrite something, and you're the presenter, the words are coming out of your mouth. So a lot of the time they look to you to be the person to come up with it. There's always script writers and researchers, but it really, really helps if you're able to kind of have your own input on the script writing as well. So that'd be like a big tip that I'll suggest to everyone later on as well. With the kind of importance of social media, you'll probably have noticed, just even scrolling on Instagram, everyone seems to be a presenter now. Even if they're working in the gym or a food store, you need to tell people about your ideas. So everybody's doing it. So what's great is almost any job, it's really useful to have presenting skills. And again, all you need is your phone to be able to do it. And so much kind of performing backgrounds really will stand to you as well in terms of the performance and knowing what works for the audience as well.
It would be interesting to know how to inspire other people to get into that industry and inform them about all the opportunities on offer and where that can get them.
Awesome. That's really cool. And I love the kind of word inspire there, because that would be at the heart of my work as well. So kind of there's a little task, and if you want to kind of do it with me or do it now, that's great. Or if you want to do it later, that's totally fine as well. All you need is a pen and paper. But when we're kind of starting out, I find a lot of young people these days are in a massive rush. Like they want to be on the TV now. And sometimes I find that you don't have to go so fast. And I think doing some groundwork at the very, very beginning gives you a really solid base when you get to those opportunities, that you understand why you're there and what you're doing. I find it's almost important in any profession, but I find it really important for presenters or anyone who will be on front of the camera, that they understand why they're there. So Ross talked about inspiring, and Fionn, you mentioned trying to get people engaged and to listen to your voice. So I find if you guys could answer like 2 questions. So the first one would be, what do you want to talk about? So they're very simple questions, but write down, even in a sentence, what is it you would like to talk about? For me, it's particularly science. And there's a reason why I ask you to write this down, is because I talk about science because the moment I start talking about it, my passion and enthusiasm comes across on camera, and that allows people to relate to me, and it's more interesting to watch. And then I think it's really important, write down why you want to talk about that. So more of a tricky question, and I think it will involve some self-awareness, but figure out why is it you want to talk about those things. So first question, what do you want to talk about? And then the second question, why do you want to talk about those things? So for example, what do I want to talk about? I would like to talk about STEM stuff, science stuff. I think that would be cool. Why do I want to do it? I'm really passionate about educating people to understand more about the world around them, so they can use that knowledge to better themselves and the world. So I find that self-awareness and that solid base will really, really help you when you go on to get different opportunities, where it might be natural that you'll get pulled from kind of left and right. Something might not be exactly what you're into, but you want to use it as an opportunity anyway. But it really helps if you know deep down who you are, what you want to do, and why you want to do it. That's something I would say maybe a lot of people in the media don't answer those questions from the start, and they begin to rush on, how do I just get on the television? Just put me on the television. And I think it's important to do that groundwork at the start to understand who you are and why you're doing this. And the best thing to do is to just get started. Like I said earlier, you guys now have phones that are amazing for recording in high definition. You can have self auditions, self tapes. You can record your pieces all on your phone immediately. So I would really urge you to don't wait for anything. Start now. And if the only person who sees your videos is you, that's fine, because by doing them, that's when you'll learn so much about yourself and what works, what your style is, and how you can improve. Make sure you have a show reel, because then people believe that you're serious about this. And if you meet someone, you're able to show them, here, look, this is what I can do. So that's something everyone is able to do right now. You all have phones. You all have the ability to do this. So come up with some pieces, write a few scripts, and film about 3 or 4 pieces and make a show reel. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think remember that as well. That's something I was probably a bit cautious of. It really doesn't have to be perfect. Most times now, if I'm auditioning for an acting role, they ask you to film on your phone. And a lot of people send it then across WhatsApp. So you don't need to worry too much about the quality. People know very, very quickly whether the person on screen can do it or not. They don't care whether the angle wasn't so good or the lighting wasn't so good. They want to know that if they give you the job, you can do the job. So don't be worried about the professional production of it. Just make sure that you do your best on camera. If there was like 5 points, and I'd love if you wrote these down as well, the kind of 5 points that I think you should think about as you're kind of embarking on your role to be a presenter. One would be to recognize who you are. Super, super important. So figure out what it is that you want to talk about, because that's your gift. That's what will set you apart from different people. For me, it's talking about science and education. That's what my kind of gift is. So use your unique gift and your unique voice to do it. So recognize who you are. The second would be, what is your message? Figure out what it is that you want to talk to people about. Then the third is, who do you think your audience is? So like that's a really important thing. Always have it on your mind who you're talking to. Because if you're talking to kids, you will act a lot different. If you're talking to politicians, that requires a different tone of voice. So be really aware of who your audience is. Important for all aspects and performers, as you guys know as well, to know who your audience is. Then number kind of 4 is figure out how you're going to do it. And just start. If you're going to say, right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to use my phone and I'm going to edit on my laptop, and then I'm going to send that video. I'm going to maybe WeTransfer that video to a couple of people. Just figure out, how are you going to do it? Maybe you want to get some friends involved. If you have friends who are into film and maybe they have a camera, they have lights, they have sound, and you want to get them involved, do that. But just come up with a plan on how you plan on doing this and getting kind of noticed. And then the 5th point is, just do it. Just totally do it. Like, you spend so long thinking about it, but getting up and just taking action is so important. You'll never be able to see the whole staircase, but just take the first step. And each thing becomes clear as you take one more step and one more step. So that's kind of more of a more formal one. You see, like, my energy is lower. That's me. I would send that clip to RTÉjr. That's where I would be sending something like that, to show them that I can be that formal guy on the television talking to an audience at home. I always would think of the 3 P's. They are patience, perseverance, and positivity. So you have to be patient. Things are not always going to happen immediately for you. It could take a long, long time. I would say I started making science videos for 5 years before anyone really started to take notice. That's a long time, but that's kind of, again, we're at very different kind of stages of humanity's advancements. You guys have a lot more tools to help you get seen these days. But always be patient, that things won't always happen immediately as you expect. And then to persevere, to keep going, keep learning, keep practicing, keep making science videos, keep making videos, because you'll keep learning. And the more you learn, the better you'll get as well. So even when you're 28 and you go home to your parents and they ask you, what are you doing? And you tell them that you're still making science videos that nobody's watching, that you stick with it. You believe in what you're doing. And that's super, super, super important. And then to be positive about it. If you're doing something and you have no positivity for it, nobody wants to be with that person. So be positive. Things might not happen straight away. It might take a long time, but to keep positive when you're doing what you're doing. Something that is also really useful is connect with people in your field. Like if there's someone in RTÉjr or wherever, you can find this person on Twitter. And I would tell you, more times than not, people are super, super helpful. If you ask this person, hey, you want to have coffee for 10 minutes one day, I'll come to wherever you are, all 10 minutes, that's all. Let's have a talk. I would tell you, more times than not, the person will say yes. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. People are a lot more helpful than we sometimes imagine. So if there's someone you admire or you would like to be like or do what they're doing, reach out to them. Twitter, Facebook, wherever. If they don't get back to you, at least you tried. I think you'll be surprised at the amount of times they do get back to you as well. And then a big thing is, I think, believing in yourself. Hugely, hugely important. And there are so many people in the world, and if you don't believe in yourself, why should anybody else? So believe in what you're doing, believe in what your message is, and believe in your end goal, that you know you might not be there right now, but you'll get there. You'll get there, and it's not a race. It took me a long, long time. The only person you're in a race with is yourself. So believe in yourself. And when you're doing jobs, ask for feedback. Ask the director or the producer, what did you think of that? What do you think? Always really useful to get feedback as well.
How do you write a script and figure out what your own style is and developing that? You were saying, I don't know, just advice for writing a script.
Yeah, so what I would kind of do before I would write anything is I do research. And research can involve different things. It could be looking up videos of someone who's done something similar, reading articles. So maybe you can read other reviews and you can understand their tone of voice and kind of what way they kind of phrase certain questions. So I find looking to lots of other places for inspiration, and then let it kind of sit in your head, and then you just kind of have to experiment. Take all your inspiration and just start writing. And it won't be perfect immediately, but you'll soon, from doing it, start realizing, oh, okay, I like the way that person did that, and I like the way that person did it. But on that note as well, with getting inspired by stuff, I think it's really cool to be inspired by other work, but never copy other work, because it's never going to be the same. So the best thing you can do is your version, and do it like you want to do it. It's cool to be inspired by other people's work. That's totally a given, but don't kind of copy what they do. Instead, figure out what is it about them that you like what they do. Is it they write really short sentences, they write really snappy, and then you take that and apply it to you and do it your way.
How do you balance, I guess, writing a script and not sounding like you're just reading a teleprompt? Because, for instance, for me, I would be giving a lot of keynotes, and for a 2-hour keynote or long keynotes I would only outline. So I would only have the points, and then I would I guess, make up as I go along kind of thing. But I find if I have a fully scripted talk, I sound not as spontaneous, not as engaging as when I've just outlined the points.
What I would do is, I found it helps when I know the script really, really well. If I don't know it well enough, I have to look at the lines, and it becomes me reading rather than talking. So that's another reason why I practice out loud so much. I practice the lines over and over until that I'm not thinking. I think the problem is when you're thinking and analyzing information, that's when it comes out kind of a bit robotic. So if all you need to do is look at a line, but you've looked at the line a million times, you kind of know what it is, and you could almost say the line with your eyes closed. You're still reading it off the page, but it will come out a lot more naturally because you'll know it off by heart. You won't be thinking. You'll be able to do it while looking that way and then looking this way. And it becomes a lot more like you're just freely talking. So I think saying it out loud loads of times and really practicing the script, even though it's very short, really, really helps. Before I began realizing this and saying, right, I got to create my own opportunities, I spent a long time trying to sit down and think about who I was and what way I wanted to speak. Like, was I going to speak fast? Was I going to speak slow? I was thinking of people that I admired and thinking, how could I do that? And I spent a lot of time thinking. And it's pretty much the same as trying to learn how to swim by reading a book. Like, there's only so much reading you can do, but the only way to learn to swim is you just got to jump in the water. And I would say I spent a full year reading the book on how to swim, trying to figure out, what way do I talk? What is my rhythm? What's my style? And I got nowhere. It was only when I started making the videos that I was like, okay, I like that. Turns out I talk really fast. Okay, do I like that, or do I want to change that? I would look back at these videos and see what things I thought I liked, and see what things I wanted to change about myself. But it was only after doing a couple of videos, I went, oh my God, I should have been doing this years ago. All those times I sat in my room trying to think, how do I sound on camera? And I found out, I'd say, in a few weeks of just making videos, I naturally developed my style and my character. So I would advise all of you, whether it's just at home, just for yourself, or just put stuff online, YouTube, social media, wherever it is, just get going. You won't be able to know everything from the beginning. Like, you don't need to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.